All right, we are now recording. Again, my name is Jeff Ragsdale. I'm the Assistant Vice Provost here at the graduate school. Just kind of as a reference, I graduated in 2017 with my doctorate in educational leadership. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to discuss today is things that I definitely would have liked to have known. As I go through the presentation, kind of hold your questions. At the very end, I'll answer any questions you have. And we can do that through the chat, to the chat function. All right, so let's start on our presentation. All right, so as we kind of talked about earlier, the doctoral stage timeline, we met in August. We had our introductory orientation, where we kind of discussed kind of the basics of kind of some of the things you can kind of see as a doctoral student. And now we're going to go through what's now called launch. Launch, we're going to talk about degree works, we're going to talk about annual review and IDP, and some other things. Later on, about a year and a half or so from now, you'll actually go to the staged orientation. Candidacy. And that one really is, there's a lot of forms and a lot of things you kind of need to know about during that time. So it's kind of it kind of gets you ready for what you need to do next. And then after that will be your dissertation orientations, and there will be two of those. The first one will be, hey, I've just gotten into dissertation and what to expect and the things that you should kind of know about. And then the final one is really, hey, I'm about to graduate. And this is what I need to do to kind of finalize my degree here at UTSA. All right, so as we look at these orientations, you'll kind of notice there's requirements, initiatives, and trainings. The requirements, you just have to do those. There's no way out of this. These are things that you need to do, especially when it comes to forms and some of the things you kind of need to do as a doctoral student. In the initiatives and training, some of those are best practices we think you should really look into, and some of them might be requirements as well. So for instance, those of you who are in an assistantship had to go through the Roadrunner Assistantship Academy. It's an initiative that is required if you're going to kind of follow through with doing that. So launch, what are we doing here in launch? So the first thing to think about is the intern program of study. Some of you may have already started doing this. Basically, you will meet with your advisor, and this might be called a semester by semester plan, a scope and sequence, just a degree plan. But really what it is all your coursework from the very first semester through you graduate, kind of going through and mapping that out so you know when to expect what you're taking in different semesters and so forth. The milestone agreement form, that is a UT system requirement. And what that means is, as a, we here at UTSA, you're going to work with your advisor to create an agreement between what you as a student are expecting from the program and also what the program is expecting of you. And you'll submit that to your program, but we'll also submit it during the IDP process in your first year as a doctoral student. In terms of well-being, that's something new, right? That's really post-COVID. When I was in my program, I may have been stressed at times, but there really wasn't that many outlets. I mean, they may have asked me, hey, how am I feeling about things? I would go work out, kind of do different things like that to kind of de-stress. But these well-being series, there's through the graduate school, but also through the university itself, is really a kind of a post-COVID thing, and something that I really would have appreciated at that time. In terms of picking your advisor, some of this, so you may have come into the degree with an advisor already selected for you, and that's pretty normal, right? So then what happens is, as you start meeting some of the faculty members, you then might find people who match your career interests. And you start, looking to them as a mentor and eventually pick them as your advisor. And this advisor could be for a set period of time, or it could be through your entire academic career here. So for me, I was chosen an advisor when I first started, and then I actually found someone who my interests matched, and they stayed my advisor through the dissertation process. So preparing for your journey, right? So this is the part where, some trainings, initiatives, professional development activities. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to point out some of them. So in terms of GPS, right? That is graduate school and postdoctoral studies. but there are a lot of things you can kind of do. So yesterday, some of you might have gone to the 3MT or maybe even, are thinking about participating in it. So this kind of outlines what that looks like and what you kind of need to do. When you get kind of ready for the dissertation phase, there's a series of workshops you can kind of go to, and they're very helpful. We have someone from the libraries there, someone from the writing center. So there's a really great resource for you as you're kind of going through the writing part. The transdisciplinary grand challenge is actually a really interesting challenge. This happened through COVID as well. What it's meant to do is interdisciplinary. You will work with someone from an opposite area that you're in. So for instance, if you're a business student, maybe you're working with someone in the social sciences, or maybe someone in the sciences itself. And together you are working to solve a problem. So for instance, this semester is well-being, but other semesters we've done conflict, water resources. So there's a lot of interesting things you can study and kind of work together in terms of finding ways to solve a problem, and also kind of build your resume of things that you kind of do here as a student. Hopefully some of you have gone to the grad space. The grad space is in the MS building on the second floor across from the GPL. It's a great service for you. It's free for you as a student. So when it comes time to do presentations and you need a poster, you can request one through the graduate school grad space, and you can get a free poster printing done for yourself. You can also do, say you're going to go to a conference or something of that nature, and you need business cards. Those can be printed out for you. Another great feature is you need to practice for those presentations. There's a room there that you can reserve and practice your presentations. You can record it and watch yourself back to see how you're doing, all these different things. And so great resources and free resources for you as a student. In terms of community building, hopefully some of you have already gone to some of our First Fridays. If you've done First Fridays, that's on a main campus. Usually either the Thursday before or the Thursday after, we host it downtown. So both campuses get to do this community building. It's really meant to be peer-to-peer support with great swag along the way. Now, one of the things you may need to do eventually is the responsible conduct of research. Webpage is actually really good, right? So I used this when I was in this phase of my academic career, and it kind of tells you exactly what you need, what everything's about, really outlines it really well. But what's really good is they also have these contact people, and they're very responsive. When I did this and I would email, a lot of times I heard within an hour, maybe at the most a day. And so really great, responsive, and definitely a resource that you should know about as you kind of go through. In terms of GS funding, this is another great thing to look at. So say you're going to go to a conference and you need monies to kind of go to that. One of the things you can do through the graduate school is apply for this award. And this award allows you for travel documentation to go to a conference and so forth. So definitely something to look at and to remember when it's time to do that. In terms of the Roadrunner Academy, those of you who went through it, it's actually every year. They do it in August. It's for 1 week, and it prepares you for your GTA or GRA position to help you be successful. There's a series of modules that you do over about a 5-day period. So micro-credentialing. So those of you might have done you might be looking into micro-credentials. If you did the assistantship, there's a micro-credential attached to the assistantship itself. Another one is that, so if you saw the 3MT yesterday, there is also a badge that goes with that to kind of help you prepare and be as successful as you can be in that 3MT competition. But you can also build upon each other. So a good example is communication. The communication one has, I think it's 2 or 3 badges that build upon each other to do a larger badge itself. These are done through Credly, and it also attaches to your LinkedIn profile. So if you have a potential, someone's kind of looking at your LinkedIn profile, they'll see all these kind of different badges and stuff that you've completed. You can also build upon other badges to do a larger programming upskilling. An example of that is the kind of the teaching badge through the College of Education. So building the mentor-mentee relationship. Something that's probably already doing. So if you've kind of met with your professors or you've met with your faculty advisor, you're kind of building that relationship. And the faculty one is an important one in terms of they can kind of help you with your program of study, any forms you need to turn in, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you need more than one. So one of the things I always say is this can be more than one person. There might be that person who is looking out for your well-being, right? They make you go to the movies, they tell you to go work out, right? De-stress, all these things. But one I would also tell you to kind of look into, especially if you want to work in higher ed, is the administrative people, because these are the people that know how the bureaucracy works here at the university. And that's kind of something that if you are going to work here, you're going to want to know about and kind of learn how to navigate. And those people know exactly what needs to be done and how to do it. And I would say definitely, look into them as a mentor-mentee relationship. So doctoral support and initiatives. We talked about the social networking, the first Fridays and the first Thursdays. But there's also one thing I would also say, there's also going to be ones in your department or college as well. You might belong to an organization that within the college itself. So those are also social networking functions I would also kind of say definitely look into and seek. In terms of well-being, Dr. Madrano here does a well-being Wednesdays. She's done things like kickboxing. She's also doing focus groups at the end of the semesters. A lot of times we do the therapy dogs, which is really popular. And then in terms of the annual review and IDP process, we're going to discuss that in a few minutes, but it's really meant to showcase what you do as a student and really showcase those successes. The retention and graduation program coordinators, they were hired late last spring, early in the early summer. And what their goal and focus is you as a student. They are there and they interface between yourself as a student, the graduate school, and also the college and program. And they're really meant there to kind of demystify processes, right? They're there to kind of answer any questions you may have. These are their locations. Right now, the one for COS, we should be hiring in a couple of weeks, but this is their location. Seek them out, ask them questions. You may have seen them at some of your functions. I know Herman has gone to a lot of the functions within the College of Engineering. So just kind of know these are folks here to help you, and definitely, seek them out. So the annual review in IDP process. So what is this, right? So this is an initiative that happens every spring. It is kind of two pieces of, of a puzzle. The first part, the annual review and IDP, the annual review piece is really the assessment piece. What have I done over this last year, right? All those things that to showcase and show your successes, coursework, maybe you published, all those type of things. The IDP part is future, right? It could be a short-term goal. Hey, next year I want to do the 3MT, or long-term goal. I want to work in industry, so I need to meet some people there, right? So that might be your long-term goal. So how does this work? So how it works is this. In probably right after spring break, the graduate school is going to email out saying, hey, it's IDP time. You as a student are then going to have discussions with your faculty mentor, advisors, so forth, about all the things you kind of did over this past year, and then maybe some of the things you want to do in the future. You are then going to create the form and go through and fill it out. It'll then be sent to your advisor, who will either say, hey, this looks great, move it over to the graduate school, and we will finalize the IDP. Or they may send it back to you saying, hey, you know what, you went to a conference in November and I don't see that listed here. Please go back and do that. And so once that's done, again, it will then get reviewed, sent to the graduate school, where it will then be finalized. Sorry, we're having a technical difficulty here. All right, we'll go through it through this way. So this is our actual annual review and IDP page. So this kind of worked out well, as you kind of see that we have on our website. It kind of outlines the IDP process, also talks about some instructions, and guidance documents, the process, and also where to start. So looking at the annual review in IDP, it is a set of about 40 questions, right? Some student information, scholarly activities, professional development, funding sources, student milestones, and future goals, and finally your advisor. So how does this work? It's kind of interactive. So one of the things, so hey, you're a first year student, it's going to populate saying, hey, I need the milestone agreement form. If you're a second year student, it's going to populate and ask for degree works, and it's going to ask for a CV or resume. And as you kind of go through, here's the ORCID ID. This is probably a best practice along with LinkedIn that I would suggest you download and kind of get. The ORCID ID, what that does is attaches that number to anything you publish, present, etc. So you can have it all in one place, and it will also link to other forms and things that you do. Scholarly activities. So this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Hey, maybe you published a paper, you presented something, you'll list all that kind of stuff here. And it's based on a yearly, so it's not a cumulative, it's just what you've done this past year. Have you gone to any conferences, grants, all these type of things, right? Professional development. Did you go to the 3MT that happened a couple of days ago, right? You would list that. Or maybe you did something in your college, you're in a kind of a professional organization, and I did some things for them. All that stuff kind of gets listed in here as well. First Fridays, the mixers, all those type of things that you would do. In terms of funding sources, again, if you're a GTA, GRA, and all that, you kind of select that. So say you're a teaching assistant, what it would do is, hey, what courses have you taught this past year? And I'll ask you to list them here as well. And then it kind of talks about milestones. So this really kind of goes with your semester plan, and your degree works, and that, the core courses you've completed, any electives, maybe you're in the forms part of the dissertation where you're doing your qualifying exam, your proposal, all that kind of stuff kind of gets checked off. And, if you're not quite there yet, it asks for expected time dates. And this is again where your by semester plan will help you, because you've mapped that out with your professor. You can then say, oh, I won't be doing that until, spring, fall 2024, right? And you can go and detail this in here itself. And then future goals, like we talked about earlier, it could be an immediate goal, or it could be in the future, in terms of maybe 2 or 3 years out from now. And it's something that you kind of are looking forward, and you want to start taking steps now to kind of meet that goal. And then finally, your advisor information. One hint I will give you on this is, when you put this in, you need to put in their in their full name. So if their name is Arthur, you can't put Art because it won't find them. You do need to put the full name Arthur and full last name to be able to kind of find these folks. So degree works itself, let's see if it will let us open up. It probably won't again. All right, so DegreeWorks is your program of study, kind of an electronic format. We're going to look at a test case here. you're a student here at UTSA who maybe has more than one degree here, you're gonna actually have a drop-down menu that will kind of show, hey, I was a bachelor's student, I was a master's student. If you've only been here as a doctoral student, that's the only thing you'll see. So let's look at a doctoral student here. Okay, so the way this works, this first part will kind of show you, give you your student ID, your name, and the actual degree that you're kind of following. And then what happens here in terms of degree progress, it'll talk about requirements and credits. Requirements are everything that gets checked off on the side here, right? That'll be all your requirements. When you're looking at the credits are the actual credit hours in terms of coursework that you complete. And as you go through, this will eventually get to 100%. As a doctoral student, you're kind of then looking at maybe some of your required coursework, some of your electives, of your dissertation work, research and dissertation. But also what's in here is your milestones. So these are all, once you kind of get to this part, all the forms you need to complete to be a doctoral student are listed here. So your qualifying exam, dissertation committee, approval, all these things get checked off here. So you can kind of see in real time what you've completed. Now, what we'll do on this is we do update these kind of 3 times a year. After every semester, we'll go through and complete these. And some of the things you might see kind of in the meantime, as we're doing this behind the scenes with the retention and graduation coordinator, is you may see extra coursework, which makes a lot of sense as a doctoral student because you are going to take courses that further your research. And it may not be, in this case, the student's an anthropology student. It may not be in anthropology. Maybe it's an ecology course in the biosciences that, works with what you're studying and what you need to kind of move forward in your research. And so that's something that we kind of do behind the scenes. But if you see it sitting there and you have a question about it, definitely email us and we'll definitely work with you to, so that way it'll show as expected. But know that it's common, especially as a doctoral student. All right, so the doctoral handbook. So the handbook here is really meant as a guide for questions that you may have. So today, Jeff talked about annual review and IDP, and I don't remember where that is. You can go to the handbook itself, and you can find the annual review and IDP. It'll give you a small little, this is what this is about. But what it does is link to the source material. So anything in here, and it's also doctoral forms. It's also assistantships, any of those type of things that could be that you kind of need to look for as a student is in this handbook, and then links to the source to kind of help you get the rest of that information. All right, it's time for the survey part of our discussion. If you can go ahead and do this survey, scan the QR code. What's great about it, you will get free swag. You will, since we're doing this virtually, you will have to come to the graduate school to collect it. But we got some great stuff here for you. So, if you can definitely do this, Dr. Madrano would be definitely appreciative. You did one in the spring, and as you know, we kind of do, pre and post tests. So this is kind of part of that process. So if you go ahead and scan that, I'll give you a few minutes to do that. All right. That kind of ends this part of the presentation. Definitely, we'll take some questions as well. One thing I will tell you, I'm going to send you this presentation as well to you. So you have all the links and everything that are built in, so you can, look at those at your leisure. If you know anybody that couldn't make any one of these two presentations that we've had in the last couple of days, we will be sending out, sending out this recorded session to them so they can complete the requirement as well.